This might not work. Uncertainty. That's what I'm going to talk about today. Uncertainty is the thing that pretty much everybody fears. I'm afraid of it. It's when you can't predict the future. I mean, most of the time, you can't really know exactly what's going to happen in the future. But when I talk about uncertainty, I'm talking about the context of I guess a lot of different things, but I want to use business as the main thing because that's the reason why most people get jobs, right? It's why people work for large companies, is because they like that certainty of the paycheck, right? And when you want to start your own business, or what the hell, even get into a relationship, right? You have to learn how to embrace that uncertainty, that the person that you're with may not respond in the way that you expect them to, right? It's uncertain. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, going on a tangent, I guess, about relationships, is that that's what happens when you're together with someone for a long time. There's a lot of expectations, especially, or even kids. You know, if you have kids, or you're a child to a parent, they have a lot of expectations on you. And all of that is, and that's the thing, you are expecting something to happen and it doesn't happen. And you get upset, you get pissed off, you get disappointed, something happens. And it's being able to wrestle with that amount of uncertainty, being able to deal with it. And how do you deal with it? How do you dance? Like one of the guys that I follow a lot, read his blogs almost every day, is Seth Godin. And he had this post that came out about it. And he talked about how essentially what being an entrepreneur is doing something and knowing that it might not work, right? And the thing is what business owners are good at doing, people who are successful in business, is they are good at making calculated risks. They lose on some, they mitigate their losses, but when they win big. Or they win significantly much more than if they had just an hourly job. And this is the reason why that working for commission, working for production is ultimately better. It's not for everybody, you know, but Tony Robbins said this thing, is that your life, like the amount of, I forgot what he used, but the word exactly, but essentially the more uncertainty you're able to allow in your life, the more you're able to accept, the bigger your world grows. I heard this like over 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, on like a relationship video I watched with my wife. And I remember watching that, thinking about how I didn't believe it or how I wasn't sure about it, but now I realize, you know, being able to travel somewhere you've never been, being able to do a new project you've never done, being able to try something like sing or dance, like those are things I don't do, but if I try to do that, scare me. It's being able to do the things that you're uncertain about, things that people might ridicule you about, right? And it's being able to take that feeling of, I guess you'd call it anxiety, fear of people judging you. But what all that is uncertainty, because people will respond in a way that you do not expect. And sometimes what often happens is whatever the response is, you're going to take it negative anyway. Because a lot of that has to do with expectation. And I'm bringing this up because in my life right now, there is a lot of uncertainty because now I sort of run my own business. And with that uncertainty comes essentially the risk of losing it all, right? I suppose that can happen in a job too. But there comes a point when you are kind of paving your own way that you really can't, that you have to act as though that you're going to lose everything, right? Now that could be a bad thing or it could be a good thing. It all depends on kind of how you react to it, but I'm talking about reacting it in a good and positive way. And the way you react to it in a good and positive way is to constantly seek opportunity, right? Constantly seek opportunity, look for new opportunities, be open and build relationships with people. And that's actually the hardest thing for me because I have trouble connecting with people. You know, I'm afraid to. That's why I use this video as my sort of my outlet. But that uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen next is really learning how to embrace that. You know, I'm curious, like if you're watching this far in the video and you'll leave a comment, let me know what your thoughts are of uncertainty, not being able to predict the future. You know, how do you deal with it? You know, whether it be in business, whether it be in personal relationships, whether it be in school, whether it be in finance and money. Let me know your thoughts below. Actually, you know, I'll close this video out with one other thing that I was just thinking about. And that question is it worth it, right? Is it worth it to work so hard to end up, you know, in a place where you don't want to be? Well, of course not. But, you know, why would you work so hard to end up in a place you don't want to be? The fact is, you don't even know until you actually get there, right? We are poor judgers or poor predictors of how we're going to feel when something happens, right? Initially, we have maybe an abrupt reaction, especially if it's negative or something that's sort of a significant change in our life. But we really don't know until afterwards. Think about someone who's died. You know, I told you my mom passed when I was young. And as traumatic as the event was, you would think that if you lost your parents, you'd feel terrible, right? And in lots of ways, I don't feel terrible anymore. It's been, you know, 20 plus years already, right? Yeah, 20 years almost. I don't feel terrible anymore, you know. I'm sad, but like with any loss, just traumatic, time passes, and how you think you'll feel, you were wrong about. Like I thought I would feel worse, right? I mean, the truth is my mom passed when I was 15, so it's kind of hard to even remember that far. Actually, I can remember a lot, but I wasn't really predicting anything. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Click like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And I'll see you all on the next video.